It's a real strange force or thing that happens when I think about African art and how it functions today. And it's just not like a relic of the past, but it's more something that is just as futuristic as anything and carries you forward just as much as it carries you backwards. So it kind of moves in this strange kind of direction emotionally with people. So. My way of looking for materials were really about materials that could speak. And it was always easier or better when you can find an object that has some historical meaning, it's beautiful. It had 2 or 3 different meanings, which left the piece open, and it can go in any direction. And often I feel as if I'm trying to do work that doesn't say exactly what I want it to say, but says what other people want it to say too. Specifically with this work, besides the glass and the African sculpture, all the other objects were found in one day at an antique fair. The glass itself was something that I observed driving down the street, and I look over beside the expressway, and there was this place that was kind of grinding glass, recycling glass, and I said, oh, good material. Well, the ship, tilts and goes in different directions. I made it in that way so that it could actually function and operate in different spaces. And the tarp, it's like a shipping tarp. The numbers on there are the regiments from African American troops from the Civil War. There's also constellations that I made up myself that are stitched in, but they're stitched with cotton. And then there's the Mason-Dixon line. I had this very obscure dream about what it would have been like to become a part of like an underground railroad. And those are migrating from the south to the north. And then there's another history of my family members on my father's side that were a part of the Underground Railroad. So the work itself kind of carries those kind of layers for me. Doing a residency in Florida, close to Daytona, there was an antique shop, and so I'm looking in a case, and here I see this little piece of sculpture, and I said, how much is it? $5. I didn't know exactly where it was from, but I knew the way it was made. I knew it had a certain quality to it. So it fell together. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't think I was really actually thinking. I was just arranging things. Often I have stuff in the studio where I have objects that have been sitting there for over a year, and they're just waiting to have a conversation with something else that could activate it. Studios like church too. Studios where I go and I have my confessions and I ask questions and have my conversations with my ideals and my thoughts about a God or a belief. If I have a problem, I go and work it out in the studio. Sometimes it's like work like this that has one layer about a history or a subject matter, but then it's another layer of a history that goes on inside of myself on my day-to-day. For me, it's like a large percentage of the work is about play. I like orchestrating. I like the work of composers. I'm a catcher. I have to make calls, and I have to do all kinds of ways of speaking to people in different ways. I'm a trickster too. I like the idea of being a trickster. 50% of what I say is fact, and another 50% is made up. I like that play. The freedom to go between here and tell truths and make up stories. Like a writer, I think of myself in the same way. I can't write a lick, but I can make up a story. It can be a beautiful story, but it can also deal with pain. I grew up thinking I was dyslexic, and I bring in things a certain way in my brain and throw them out a different way. And I almost want to make work that speaks in that way, where it doesn't say, if you read this way, this is the only way you're going to be able to pick up this information. It's more of a feeling, or, it's like a sound. It's like,